Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Anastasia podcast. I have a lot of really fun stuff planned for our episode today. I'm 25 weeks pregnant, feeling like I'm 35 weeks pregnant. It's seriously so crazy the difference between this pregnancy and last pregnancy. And my biggest thing right now is like, you just feel so much bigger and you feel so much more pressure. And when I was talking to my doctor about it at my last visit, they're like, this is literally what happens, and it's because your body's already done it. So instead of your body kind of like slowly evolving through the process of your pregnancy, it kind of is like, hey, we know what to expect, so that's what we're doing. And I've been like telling Matt specifically that like sitting is very hard for me. Like sitting on the couch with my legs up, like I have my legs up right now. I'm sitting crisscross applesauce. It's just normally if I find myself taking a seat, like I immediately put my legs up. It's almost subconscious. But if my legs are not up, in an effort to raise them, if I'm sitting just like even trying to cross-legged, it's kind of hilarious. Yesterday, the outfit that I was wearing, like I have like a belly. The outfit that I was wearing like baggy maternity sweatpants that I got at Old Navy last pregnancy. And I wasn't wearing like a cami or anything. I was just wearing like a gray tight t-shirt. And my stomach was like so erupted that literally my shirt was just stuck under my boobs. And like I could not pull it down and keep it down. And I was like, this is why girls like have their bellies out all the time. I'm like, because it's like not even for fashion. It's just your shirt doesn't stay down. And I literally think it's because my stomach is like just bigger this time around. I don't feel like I'm 25 weeks pregnant. I feel like I'm already so pregnant. And then I have to like keep myself from spiraling when I think about how much longer I have to go. At the end of this month, we're going camping. And I just keep reminding myself, like, I'm going to be this many more weeks pregnant. And sitting up in Matt's car for like a 4 or 5 hour drive one way, I can't recline because Magnolia's car seat is behind me. I'm going to be very interested to see how I am kind of going into that week, because a part of me yearns for that opportunity to go do that with my family and like make those memories with Magnolia, because we're going to be selling our camper, because it's just going to be a little bit too hard with like 2 little kids, and we are going to need something bigger and a tow behind. And I am like so pro, like you have to send things on their way to be able to like allow room for better things to come through. But I just, I'm always playing this game in my head of like, Anastasia, you don't have to be the hero. Like, you're pregnant. Like, you're very pregnant. So we'll see if I go. I feel like I'm trying to be a trooper to go for Matt, but like, I am just so freaking pregnant. Can you see how pregnant I am? I'm so pregnant. I should take this down. Anyways, so this week the topic is going to be, you're not depressed, you're just not in a season of harvest. And this is a theme that I've noticed across a few of my friends over the past few weeks. And then honestly, it kind of hit me this week. And like, this is multi-layered, right? So sometimes you find like you just have an off day and the day is like not your best day, and you are just like doing your best, and it's still one foot in front of the other, but you're like, wow, like today kind of sucked. Or like you start to feel down a little bit about where you're at in life, and like maybe you're not where you want to be, and things have not rolled out or positioned in your life the way that you thought they would up until this point, whether it be relationships, jobs, marriage, children, etc. Like, it could be anything. But I would like to say with this, it's so easy for us to get lost in like our own current version of our reality and not realize that like everybody's got the same dialogue going on no matter what stage of life they're in. And I've been really thinking about this past week, because the antidote for that is like a few things. You have to like give yourself actually permission to slow down even more and kind of observe your life and figure out like, okay, what is going on immediately around me? Like, am I moving my body? That's the number 1 and 2 things I always start with is, have I moved my body? Am I sleeping enough? Sleep is actually, I think, more important. If you're not sleeping enough, your brain is going to play tricks on you all day, every day. And like, that is how the avalanche will start of like doom and gloom, not feeling like you're good enough, not feeling like you're in the right spot in life. Like, you need to, and the tiredness will literally make you think you need to like implode your life, to like reset and like just do something. Then the next thing I always say that you have to look at is like kind of what's going on around you. Like, am I being overstimulated by consuming too much social media? Which that in itself, there's something called cyber sickness. And I looked up this term years ago. This is really real. When you are just consuming too much short form information, you are like overloading your body or your mind on a like dopamine overdrive, and it's not sustainable. And then when you're already not in a good place and you're tired, you can't filter it properly. And then it's like a highway for you to feel even worse about yourself. Then how's your movement? Like, are you moving your body? I've started in the past like month, I said this in my stories on Instagram. I got a walking pad off Marketplace. And the story with that was I've literally already owned a walking pad. I've owned a treadmill. But in this season of my life, I'm actually shocked at how much I use it. I go on this thing every single day. I think in the month and a half that I've had it, I think I haven't gone on it like 3 or 4 days. And like sometimes those are the days where I just wake up and I know like my body needs a slowdown. I need a rest. And I love listening to days like that because I will still do plenty, but I just give myself permission to like, this doesn't have to be a heavy progress day. And it still, you end up like moving the needle forward. Some days you're not even going to move the needle forward. And that's okay too, because you need those days. But I'm talking about like how to unpack for yourself when you're like in this doom and gloom spiral. So, I kind of wrote a few things down, but before I even opened up my laptop, when I was like cleaning up my office desk, getting ready to record this episode, I was thinking about like, I believe there's this kind of universal law in life that when you have not learned how to walk through something the way that God intended for you to learn to walk through it, like it is a greater life lesson for you that He wants you to master how to move through something like that. That issue will no longer arise in your life once you figure out how to navigate through it the way you were designed to learn the lesson that you needed from it for the remainder of your life. So, that could be, why do I keep finding myself in the same type of toxic relationships? Because you keep allowing the same thing to continue. That could also be, why does this same one thing keep coming up every so often in my life? Like, and it's like almost like a roadblock that I can't figure out how to get past. That is your lesson. Like, what are you not doing differently that like God has almost opened every single door for? Like, you need to learn how to walk through this and you can't figure it out. I specifically remember this in my 20s, and I remember it was like with friendships. And I have always been a person that whenever I meet anyone, I'm friendly to everyone. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And it's almost like if I see something that like warrants pulling back, then I'll act accordingly. But up until then, like I'm not overly cautious with people when I meet them because I'm like of the belief that we're all like that people are good and people mean well and etc. But through my 20s, I really learned there's like people are really complicated, people are really broken. And a lot of people, like their initial intention whenever they meet anyone is to like harm and hurt and like because they're broken and they hurt. So that was a lesson I had to kind of almost keep learning over and over and over in my 20s until I learned how to block people like that from my life. And then honestly, it's like never really bothered me since because you just, once you learn the lesson and you walk through it, you like unlock a new level of your life. So I do say that like regarding relationships because I want to do a podcast on toxic relationships one day because one, we see them all the time in TV shows, but I think every single friend group and every single family, you know someone in a toxic relationship. It's like things people navigate, have to live with. It's so complicated and multi-layered when family is involved and like family is subject to the toxicness and then like if kids are involved, just there's so many different layers. But even stuff like this, like if people aren't even in a stage of marriage yet and they're just dating and they're always like, why do I end up with people like this? Well, like, why do you continue giving yourself permission to date problems or date people with the same types of issues that they haven't resolved themselves? It's like, it's as much of a you problem as it is a them problem. But again, you can't even explain this for people. It's something that has to click within your own brain so you can move forward. So anyways, the whole point of this is not to talk about like relationships. That was just the example that came up. For me, it's when you get in these loops in life when you're like down on yourself and you're like really just feeling doom and gloom about yourself. It's like, okay, well, like, what is the pattern that we're going to change on how we observe our life? So, like, are you sleeping enough? Are you moving your body? What are you consuming in the day to day? And consumption to me is it's social media, but it's literally also food too. I notice if I'm like not focusing on my nutrition and I'm like, if we have cereal in the house, or if I'm like, let's go get donuts, or like I'm prioritizing all these like, oh my God, do you know it'd be fun if we went and did this and that? You're malnutrition on another level of being malnutrition. Like you can be spiritually depleted. That's another huge one because it's so easy to feel like life is so much more difficult and harder and all these things are happening to you and you feel sorry for yourself when you're not spiritually equipped. And like, listen, we've all been there. But when all those other variables that I just talked about are like not in a good place, of course, like it literally is just like an avalanche. It's there's no way to stop it. It's already on its way down. And that is why like gratitude, prayer, slowing down enough to just be observant of your own life are so important. I've always done gratitude journals. There's seasons for them. Like it's really hard to stay on top of everything. I think the hardest thing in this season of life that I'm learning is there's such a will, there's such a desire, there's such a knowingness for a blueprint of like you do X, Y, Z, and then here's how you yield the results. But actually, when you become a mom and you have little kids, that formula does not apply because so much of this variable is uncontrollable. For example, my last podcast that I recorded that's coming out this week, I already scheduled it on YouTube. I have to like pre-schedule it on my other podcast distribution platform. I was like, that's it. Like I am getting in a flow. I'm going to be recording a podcast at least once a week because I want the repetition for myself of like anything you do consistently, it just becomes a lot easier and you get in a good flow. It was comical to me how many times I attempted to sit down and record a podcast and it literally was not happening. We had like days that I have childcare. Sometimes things are so backed up in like the home maintenance department in terms of like the fridge is bare. Like I know my husband will have a crazy week coming up, etc. I have to forfeit that day of childcare, and I have to go grocery shopping. And then you come home, and by the time you put groceries away, it's crazy. You go to 3 different stores. This is hours of your time. I'm pregnant, you're still trying to maintain that day, like getting in a little bit of exercise, getting ready, like self-care, whatever. Then you come home. I've been buying like I'm making the dogs food, etc. I'm buying these packages of chicken that don't even go in the fridge. So I kind of have to cook them right away when I get home. Then you're like kind of stranded in the kitchen working on that. Everything's in the oven. Like it's so many moving parts. And then you just have to accept, okay, there isn't going to be no time to sit down and record a podcast because sitting down and recording a podcast, you don't just snap your fingers and you're here magically recording a podcast. No, your energy levels have to be right. Your presentation has to be right. Your notes have to be composed. Like, what are you even talking about? Yeah, I could talk forever. And like, thank God this comes a little bit more easy to me. But when I'm not prepared, it's all over the place and then I don't have a good time. I sat today, today I'm forfeiting time with my husband. I would have had like an hour with him before he went to work. And I was just like, I literally 2 days ago sat down. I had a crazy day with Magnolia, etc. I was like, that's it. Today, when she goes down for her nap, I'm recording my podcast. I came in here, I set everything up, I had all the lights on, had my laptop ready, etc. I went to the bathroom, I straightened my hair. I come in the room, all the power's out. I'm like, what's going on? We had a power surge, which meant her sound machine turned off, which means her crib turned off. I was like, no, 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 no. I ran downstairs. I flipped the breaker on the circuit board or whatever. Magnolia was already awake. She had only slept an hour that day. And that day, I swear, I was like, dude, this is going to be like a 3+ hour nap. Like, this girl needs it. She's grumpy. She's spastic. I got an hour. You just have to accept. I'm literally, I don't want to say like full glam. I'm fully ready to do my podcast. And my kid woke up and I'm like, okay. And Matt's working. And I'm just like, all right. So then what do? Your kid is up and you adapt. And it's those kinds of things. You're like, you know all the steps to implement to like you have to try. That's where when I say things like how social media tells you you have to try harder, listen, that is a single person's game. Like that is a single person's world. That is not the same. I'm telling you, parents, you are trying the hardest. You're trying harder than the version of yourself that didn't have kids, and they don't know what you know. You don't know what you didn't know before you had kids, etc. It is a mind game while you're adjusting into motherhood and parenthood because you're thinking you're not applying yourself enough. Trust me, you're applying yourself plenty. You just have to give yourself permission to settle into the reality of what your new life is. And that means you're literally going to have full setups ready to go, mic'd up to record your podcast, and your kid wakes up 2+ hours early. And it is what it is, and that podcast is not happening. And I even thought that day, you know what? I'll just record the podcast when she goes to bed. Do you think I have anything left in me after 10 o'clock at night? No. Literally no. And again, if I did record it that night, what would I be doing? I'm borrowing energy from the future day that night. And it's just, you have to cut your losses sometimes. So you have to be like much more flexible than I ever realized you had to be. I felt like I was a pretty flexible, understanding, like, okay, let's make it work kind of person. This has tested me in so many like different like capabilities of like stretching and just okay, we'll do it. So what's the point of all of this? The point of all of this is for you to use the wisdom in your brain at whatever age you're at to recognize truly what stage of life that you're in. Sometimes it's just not going to be your season. It's not going to be your season to harvest. It's not going to be your season to kick ass. Our feelings, okay, we've known this forever. My mom always used to say this, and I'd be like, there's truth to this and not. Your feelings are liars. I think there is truth to that. I think your gut doesn't lie to you, but your feelings are liars because you can feel yourself into such a sad place, like a dark place, but you can also feel yourself into like an uplifted place, a joyful place, etc. It really is, you have to use like the wisdom in your mind to not let yourself slip into a bad place. With that, I've had to like really think this past week, like, you know what, Anastasia, sometimes it's just not going to be your season to win. It's not going to be your season. And that doesn't mean that it's my season to lose. I'm just not in a season of harvest. I'm in a season right now of growing our family. Like I think about farmers, right? And I'm going to read a Bible verse because I always think about this Bible verse, like there's a season to blank and a season to blank. And then I looked it up today and I'm like, why? I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I'm like, why does my brain always go back there? It's like because it's a biblical truth and it's literally like coded into your being. And it's just like, it's seriously so simple. And again, our hyper fast, oversaturated world will be so quick to be like, no, you have to do more. You have to be more. You have to literally just slow down. Just slow down and appreciate the season that you're in and be honest with yourself about the season that you're in. Right now, I'll like be on a drive and I'll see some types of like corporate buildings and I will just like, my soul wants to renovate inside of them. Like my soul wants to do design so bad. And I'm just like, but it's not my time to do it. You know what it is my time to do right now? To grow my family, to be present with my kid, to be there for my husband, to take care of my home. Like I am sowing the seeds in our garden for what I want later, that I will harvest later. And all those other desires of my heart, they're not lost on God. It's still going to be there. There's still little things I can do towards those things right now, but it's not my time to harvest on a large scale of like, let me go be this designer. Let me go like conquer all these projects. It's just not the time to do it. And the more you like swallow that pill and just give yourself permission to be like, trust the unveiling of your life and the seasons of your life because this is how God works. You have, like before I'd be like, oh, this is how I know it's from God because you have so much more peace. When you like study the word a little bit more and like, dude, I'm not like a theologian, I'm not like a biblical scholar or anything like that, but there's just so much peace that you sometimes feel when you read the word. And I think it's because it's literally coded in us. And if it's a message from the Father, the like peace that supersedes all understanding, you just let yourself rest in it because you're like, I know he's taking care of me. I know he's taking care of everything. And then you can just move on your merry way. So let me read Ecclesiastes. So it's Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 13. And this is going to be the New Living Translation. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do people really get for their hard work? I've seen the burden God has placed on us all, yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded that there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are the gifts from God. So much goodness in those 13 verses, even down to the end. So I conclude there's nothing better than to be happy and enjoy yourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor. You can be in a season of sowing seeds and still enjoy the fruits of your labor and give yourself permission to rejoice. Just because it's not your time to harvest does not mean you're going to be living in a life absent of joy, or absence of the goodness, or absence of peace. It is, when it was saying, there's a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to embrace and a time to turn away. It made me think of social media and how life is such a highlight reel. And I think social media can be a great tool, but everybody knows I have a love-hate relationship with social media. And because it's not properly balanced, and when you're constantly only seeing everybody's season of harvest, it makes you start to think I'm not doing enough. I need to be working harder. My life isn't where it should be. You're just in different seasons. And of course it's going to highlight the good because it just wants people more and more on the app. And of course you want to lift people up when they're in great times. You can be in a great time and be in a season of sowing. It's literally so crazy. And sowing means sowing the seeds. I know it's kind of hard with this terminology because I feel like it's New King or King James version or something like that. It's old school literature, but I've been thinking about this all week because my sister's kind of going through it for the past week, and it's always weird when you have an off day and then that off day doesn't pass the next day or the next day. And it's sometimes because you're recalibrating in so many different capacities. And why do we think that a season that God is literally teaching us how to stretch and grow, and we're actually becoming stronger from the hardship of the right now in the day-to-day to set us up to receive the gifts of the future? Why are we so resistant of it in the now? Because oh, it feels so uncomfortable and it's just so hard. Yeah, it's freaking hard because it's literally making you tougher. And for me, I tie this back to motherhood. I'm telling you, you think you're tough before you have kids. You are nothing. You are a shred of how tough you are. I used to measure toughness by how the grit that people had and things like that. And I've been looking at life in a completely different lens, and there's just such a quiet strength about people who are parents, good parents, because you die to yourself, you sacrifice so much, and then you still get after it. And then you still accomplish the things. That is true strength. You can do it all when it's just you and yourself. You can do it all when it's just you and your husband or you and your wife or whatever. And I'm no, The real challenge comes when you're doing the thing that all of our parents have done. The only reason you're here is because your parents laid their life on hold. They did the sacrifice. Everything is beautiful in its own time, but this will never stop being fascinating to me because we were the generation who was told to wait to have kids. We are the generation that waited all of our 20s, part of our 30s, really leaned in on us, which is, there's so much beauty in that in itself. But I just feel like it was such a harder awakening to like, oh my goodness, this is like a real sacrifice. Because at 33, I really liked who I was. I really liked my routine. I really liked my schedule. I really liked getting after it and all the capabilities that came along with that. And just getting up, my one responsibility every day was freaking walking my dog, feeding my husband, taking care of our house, like little things. But all the other hours of the day worked for me. Now this much time is for me. This is like, nap time is sacred. Nobody even look at me during nap time. This is my only time to remain sane. But anyways, that is just something that I was really thinking about this week, because why are we so quick to think like, it's so hard for me, I'm in such a tough spot right now, things don't feel great, but it's literally just the time of your life. It's still a time to rejoice. Rainy days, right? You know how people like get the blues on a rainy day? Dude, I have some of my best days ever on rainy days, because when the sun is out, you are so go, go, go. It is like the time to go be, to do, to like get into everything. And then a good rainy day. We just had 2 really, really rainy days. That is like my favorite, because I'm like, we're staying home. If we don't need to run it, actually, one of the days I ran a ton of errands in the morning, that was a babysitting day. But the next day I was like in my pajamas all day, didn't do my makeup all day, just put on a little bit of foundation and had the TV on, was cooking all day, playing with Magnolia. And it was like, it's just a home day. Matt took her outside for 2 hours. He was doing a huge burn pile deep in the woods because it was like raining so hard. And it was just like the best. And I felt so rejuvenated. And it's like, just sometimes just lean into it. Just lean into it. Just give yourself permission, lean back, feel what you need to feel. Another resource that I love, grab a journal, get it all out. Don't feel like you need to make any hasty, irrational decisions, but also if you find yourself continuously in the same spot, maybe it's because you need to figure out how to walk through it differently. And have peace in that like God is bringing you through this for a reason. Don't be fearful that you're going to be doing it alone. He's right there with you. Reach out to friends that you trust. They're right there with you, etc. Like, my favorite part of motherhood is all my other mom friends walking the same walk. Oh my gosh, you're like in this elite club. You can reach out to anyone, any time of the day, any time of the night, and everyone's got the like, been there. Like, and it's just so comforting because we're all just in these like crazy seasons of sacrifice, and it's just so nice to have community in those ways. The last thing I kind of want to say regarding this topic is, I was talking with Matt about this morning, and I was like, I think something that it's taking a little bit of time because I'm learning kind of how to accept it in the day to day, is that in this season of my life, if I want to get something done, I have to accept that the way to get it done is going to look very broken, and it's like little pockets of time over multiple days. And that's just such a contrast from even the last week's episode that I recorded, when I was like, I'm going to be recording a podcast every single week. Now I'm like, okay, I literally spent 10 days trying to record a podcast. Like, that's insanity, but that's also my life. And we had a day earlier this week where I was like, okay, I kind of knew it was not going to be like a move mountains kind of day. And I was like, well, what can I kind of get started on? I went through all of Magnolia's toys. I had Matt bring me up a few bins from the basement because with this baby belly, all my trips up and down the stairs are limited carrying things. And I was able to like I did her clothing. We just moved all 18 to 24 month stuff into storage, rotated out toys, put a lot of toys into storage, making sense of things in storage bins for the next baby, etc. And right now, my downstairs is literally the epitome of one of those it looks worse before it gets better type of scenarios. And I've just had to accept, like, sometimes it's going to be like that. There's storage bins everywhere. It almost looks like chaos, but it's actually right at the tipping point where it's like, okay, all those like broken chunks of hours of work, we're actually getting somewhere. And then guess what? At the end of X amount of days, I'm going to get through it. And that project will have been done. I will have gotten through Magnolia's toys. I will have reorganized everything. I just rotated all her books, like took holiday books out of the mix, etc. Books that are like a little too advanced. I was like rocking her in her room the other day and I'm like, why? Again, it's like first time parenthood, right? Like every single book that they get, you feel like you have to have it out on their bookshelves. And then you're like a disheveled mom, crazily cleaning up like 1,000 books every single day. I'm like, no, what are the like 40 books that we read? Let's leave 20 upstairs and let's leave 20 downstairs. And then it's like, that's plenty. And then as she gets a little bit older and we can read books like all the Dr. Seuss books that she has, I just put all of those into storage because I'm like, no, she can't, there's so much rhyming in those books. She's not there yet. Why am I torturing myself with all this stuff being out? And anyways, I'm like, okay, at this end of a week, that week is going to pass either way. And even though it's not how I would like to do it, normally if I want to like go through clothes or reorganize or put things in storage or whatever, I would like to dedicate like a day, do it all, let my head plug into it, get it done and move on. That's not a luxury I have in my life right now. And if that is something I want to do, the only way to do that is to literally forfeit an entire day of childcare. And that's how I have like the time. And there's so many other things I would rather do. So it's like, okay, in the meantime, moving through things with Magnolia, that's just what it's going to look like. And I'm telling you, I'm like calling on God for sanity and peace in my brain. All right, a few other things I want to touch upon. I finished Dave Portnoy's book. I loved it. And I was like, okay, what about this book did I love so much? And I think there's such stark differences between men and women. Like women, we are more emotional. We mull things over, we talk things over, we seek counsel from our girlfriends, we try to really understand someone else's perspective and etc. And there is just something about men, and men specifically, who see things in black and white. This is funny to me because I married someone like this and we've talked about this for the past 14 years together. Matt has always been someone who he will see things for what they are in black and white, and I always look at the gray. And I'll be like, yeah, but you don't understand. Like, you have to give people a chance, etc. And then Matt will be like, I literally told you this person is a criminal or this person is a bad person or whatever. And then as time goes on, he is usually 100% spot on. And I'm like, okay, should have just listened to you from the beginning. And there was such a theme about this in Dave Portnoy's book. He was so spot on like his whole being is just loyalty. If anybody's ever seen the movie The Town with Ben Affleck, it's one of Matt's actually favorite movies. I felt like listening to this book was almost listening to like Ben Affleck's persona from the movie The Town, because Dave Portnoy's entire being is just about loyalty and truth. I didn't know any of these like sexual allegations against him or anything like that. I'm sure I could go dive in and research and whatever. And again, that's the thing about the internet. You can find anything to support anything. There is something that I like about people who don't shy away from sticking up for themselves, but they're also not going to bend over backwards trying to satiate everybody who has a complaint to say about them. In life, if you're just being you and you are just climbing and pursuing the path of your own life, people are not going to like you, period. And if you stop to try to please everyone and try to be likable and mellow, like, you're not going to get very far. There's something so refreshing about people who don't bow to everybody else's opinions of them and claims about them, etc. And they just keep on being themselves. I honestly give that book like a 10 out of 10. There was so many funny parts in the book too, where you can tell he's reading his audiobook, but then he plugs in things in the studio as he's recording. There's literally a part where he's laying on his beach, like at his Nantucket house, and then the White House called and they asked if he would do an interview with the president. And he was like, up until this point, like, I hadn't even thought about this guy in like 4+ years. Then he full circles it and he's like, so basically I'm laying on the beach one day, probably sexting some girls. And then the next day I'm interviewing the president of the United States. Like, that was just so funny to me. And then he's like, my girlfriend wanted me to take that line out of the book, but I said no. Like, And then he just keeps going. He is just like a hard, crass guy, but I loved the book, loved all the stories. And I just loved the story of Barstool and the beautiful, like, he's Jewish, I think, and he didn't really super touch upon faith or religion. I just also think, too, like, God has a plan for everybody's life story. And there's just something about just staying in your lane, fixating on your gifts and your talents and the things that speak to your heart. It doesn't have to speak to anybody else's heart. And you just you follow that thing, you do that thing, and then you get to where you're supposed to be. And like the beauty in how hard he grinded at Barstool for like 12 years before like ever making kind of any real money. All these contracts he got sucked into, him like being a man and like honoring his contracts, even though he was being severely underpaid, et cetera, his employees getting paid more than him, then like negotiating different contracts, other companies buying Barstool, full circle. He ended up buying his company back for like $1. It's just, it was such a great listen. Like really, really enjoyed it. Just, I love stuff like that. And the guy loves America. And he said something in the story that I really like too. And it was talking about, because I believe this too. I had like, I feel like the past year to 2 years, it's really for me not about either side of the political spectrum anymore. It really is just about like who is a true American. And if you have love for your country, like that's what I feel like most of us are connected by. There's so much polarizing stuff. And to me, it's not about left or right anymore, because when you put your faith in a person, you're going to get disappointed, right? Of course, it's going to happen in politics, but there's such an underlying tone of unity in the book of like the heart of America and the American dream. And I was just like, you guys know, I love America. I love the American dream, being a first generation American and like my parents being immigrants. And it's just, I could never say enough great things about America. Does America have its dark moments? Of course, just like every country, literally every country. I said this a few podcasts ago when I was talking with my mom about something about like Putin and a different world leader. And my mom was like, Anastasia, you have to remember like none of their hands are clean. She's like, they've all done such horrible things, like such horrible things to their people to get to where they are. And then at that level, it just becomes like finger pointing thing, and you monopolize on any situation where you can to like make another country or another leader like look bad. And the way we're doing it in our country is the right way and whatever. And no one's hands are clean. And that to me takes me right out of like that world and just reminds me of like the day-to-day American, the day-to-day citizen, and like citizens of all other countries. Like that's what you guys have. You have each other, and you have like the heart of your country and wanting what's best for your country. And that's what it should come down to. And also, the last thing with that, without getting too political, like you can't forget about history. You can't just live this fairy tale life where you think everybody deserves everything without any bit of hard work. No, earning things, you have to earn things to appreciate them. You have to understand history. You have to understand sacrifice. It's just like true patriotism and understanding so much sacrifice before us. The book actually touched a ton about like bureaucracy and like just the nasty side of like the stock market and things like that. And it was just, I really liked the book. So anyways, 10 out of 10 recommend. In a different contrasting way, how long is this? This is like 45 minutes already. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap it up. I did not think this was going to be such a long podcast. In a contrasting light, I am halfway through Jessica Simpson's book, Open Book. I have cried like 5 times listening to this book. This is such a good book. There is so much heart in it. I think the reason that like it yields so much emotion is it literally feels like you're getting to know a friend. And she, growing up in like a religious family, and her dad was a pastor, and they traveled and like churches and all this stuff. I think anybody who grew up in a pretty religious family, you can resonate with it, because there's so much underlying like faith-based stuff in there. And then your heart just like really breaks for her through so many different scenarios. Like she was talking about like when her Nana passed away, the experience of being there with her, and how her Nana like literally picked the song that she wanted to like, slip from this world into the next world into. And it was one of Jessica Simpson's songs. And it's like, Oh my gosh, just the beauty of it. And her grandma like always believed in her, and her grandma actually gave her dad money to like make her first CD to get it out there. And it was just, there's just so much beauty in the book too. But it's like the good-hearted, like so by contrast to the other book, right? Like this is like a girl book where like you can like get in your feels and you're like laughing with her, mourning with her, like understanding just the life story and how someone grows, how you can be a little bit naive when you're younger, and then how people take advantage of you. And then as you get older, how you're kind of reprogramming things in your head of like, that's not right. And these people shouldn't have had kind of a say over these areas of my life or whatever. And there's so much relatability, even though this is a celebrity and like a singer, and it's just beautiful. So many like tying life themes. And I'm not even into like in the book, I'm just at the part where her and Nick Lachey got married. And even like I know they are divorced because I know she's married to someone else and she has, I think, like 3 kids. Even the way she talks about Nick in this book is only in like such high regard. And I'm like, this is just someone who, you know, they have such a sense of like peace and gratitude over their life and how it's unfolded, and such a strength in where they are. And it's just 10 out of 10 also so far to the 6 hour mark. There's like 11 hours and 50 something minutes. So 10 out of 10 so far for the midway point of this book. Love it. Okay, last 3 things. It's going to be my mom journal, baby names, and Real Housewives. I have this journal. It's called Mom's One Line a Day Journal. And I started it when Magnolia was about 7 months. And what you do is you write one thing every single day for a year. And then when you finish a year, you go back to the beginning, and like the second line, you start writing like for, so what day is today? July 12th. So like today I'll be writing on the second line of July 12th. And then I didn't realize how cool this was going to be, that now that I'm 1 year in, I'm like getting to read the first part and I'm like, wait, I actually remember that like it was yesterday. And that's crazy to me to think that that was an entire year ago. And then I was looking up this book last night on Amazon because I was like, oh, should I get another one for our next kid? And I'm like, it's going to be a big commitment writing this for 5 years for Magnolia and then filling out another one for 5 years for our next kid. But they also just sell one line a day journals, and it's like not for moms. And I'm like, oh, I wish I did that with me and Matt and just wrote like funny, because like I have a notes thing in my phone of like funny stuff Matt said in the past, or just like things I wanted to remember. But if I filled out these books, like that would be so beautiful. Now I do like how I write about this. It's not just like Magnolia tried peas today. Like one of my entries was like, Daddy poured the footing for the new deck legs today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Matt was like working on this at this point last year. And it's like, it's just so cool. So if you want like kind of a keepsake for your family or your kids, I highly recommend. I think these are like $20, a little bit under. It's called Mom's One Line a Day Journal. They do sell them in just one line a day journals that you can do for like faith, for gratitude, for your, they do newlywed versions, etc. Absolutely love. And I am looking forward to like passing this down to Magnolia when she has her own kid or something like that. And then that's going to be my goal with it. Or maybe I'll hold on to them forever. And this brand is by Sweetwater Decor. I kind of like it because so far the book has held up very well. I've looked at some other ones on Amazon where the seam of the, like this, busts, and that would make me crazy. That would literally make me crazy. The other thing I wanted to say regarding girl names, I have this book. And this book is like literally 20 years old. It's called The Baby Name Wizard. My mom is like very into thrifting. She's very savvy. And one time she was watching Magnolia for me so I could run to Route 2. And she was like, when I got there, she's like, you have to do this. She gave me $15 or $20. I can't remember what it was, but she's like, before you go to Route 2, you have to go to Salvation Army and see what they have. She's like, literally spend 5 minutes in the store. If anything speaks to you, grab it and like go. Because she's so pro thrifting, because it's like unbelievable how much stuff you can get thrifting. All right, I walk into the store. I look at all the books. And like by like I look at all the books, I literally mean like I walked up right to a shelf, because that's kind of how you walk into the store. And this book stuck right out at me. This book was like $3. the baby name wizard. And I literally was like, cool. And I took it off the thing and I was like, well, if I get nothing here, at least I'll get this book. This book has turned out to be so freaking cool. Magnolia is in here, which that's why I ended up buying it, because I opened it and it says Magnolia, popularity rare, style, charms and graces, country and western, nicknames Maggie, Nola, Meg. Well, we call her Noli. Sisters, Winona, Violet, Clementine, some word I can't read, and Carolina. And I love all of those except for Carolina is my brother's girlfriend's name. Winona is my other brother's ex-girlfriend's name. I liked Clementine, but it's too close to someone who Matt knows. Not good. And then Violet, I feel like, is overdone. So I'm like, okay. But then it gives brothers' names. Richmond. We live in Richmond, LOL. Beauregard, Raleigh, Lafayette, Crawford. Don't like any of those. And it literally says that like by the 1910s, it kind of like stopped being used. So it has like little graphs. It's just wicked cool. Wicked, wicked cool. So anyways, this week I sat down and started going through this, and I'm on like number 66 of names that I'm writing down. And my goal is, Matt's doing a really big project right now. Like he's working and he's doing a little Costa Cabin thing, but it's just, craziness all around. But I'm like, all right, when he finishes that, we're going to do a date night and I'm going to bring my journal and then I'm just going to rapid fire all of them off. And any ones that he's like, I like that, I'll highlight them and then we'll like ruminate over those. But I'm still taking suggestions. The last thing I want to talk about is, I won't even talk about the other show. I started watching Real Housewives of New Jersey from season 1. So my friend Jen, who married into the family as well, she's watching it right now, and she kind of brought it up, and she was talking about it while we were talking about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. If you need a show on in the background that's an oldie but goodie, let me tell you, I ended up getting, we have Apple TV, so I had Matt bundle a Peacock membership with Apple TV. I've been having Real Housewives of New Jersey on in the background. Chef's kiss. So good. Because I like watching stuff like this and then kind of doing a little research of like, where is this person now? What ended up happening in their life? Because this was almost 20 years ago at this point. And like the reason this season works so well, or like this series works so well, is so many of these people, they were like already friends and they're so interconnected in each other's lives that it's kind of like what Real Housewives of Rhode Island has, where the people have such deep histories and they've known each other since birth or since kindergarten or whatever. And now I just started season 3 and I got my friend Val to start watching it. Sorry, I have to adjust. It's literally so hard to sit when you're pregnant. My mom friend Val started watching it. She's down south for like 2 years while her husband's in flight school. So she's just like walking 20K steps a day, every single day, has Real Housewives on in the background. She's raising their 2-year-old. She's a stellar mom, but it's so fun to talk about. It's so fun to talk about and to just watch and then like see what people got away with on television back then. And then I try to think about like reality TV back then versus now, and like how people can advocate for themselves more via filming like in present day today versus back then. And it is just like, it's really good too. So again, I'm just trying to embrace and lean into the season of life that I'm in. I would rather spend more time with the TV on in the background than spend any time scrolling. I really, really think I'm gearing up to do like a hard social media pause. And again, it's because of my lack of self-control. You can just choose not to go on social media whenever you want. For me, it's always when I'm like overtired, when Matt is working and I'm alone, so I don't have someone else to like help regulate me while I'm home. I'll end up doom scrolling for such an obscene amount of time that I'm foaming at the mouth. And then my next day, I feel like absolute trash because I just consumed so much random crap. Again, sometimes you get a thread that's so funny and it's so uplifting and you got like it's like watching a little comedy special. That's so rare and like few and in between that to me, I just feel like when I look at social media as a whole, how much more negative it brings into my life than it does positive. Which is interesting to say because I think there's so much positive. There's so many people that I engage with on social media. There's so many moms that I talk with and like that's actually how we chit chat. But to me, like when I have like a bad experience with social media, with like, it's just so like, ugh, even down to like My daughter's getting older, like posting her. I'm just like, all right, I just think of the people I'm friends with and all those eyes on her. And I know so many of those eyes are just other moms and they're kind of reliving their mom experiences of like when my kids were little and whatever. But then like you just use your discernment, right? As you're getting older. And I'm like there's some videos that are so cute that I want to share of Magnolia. And then I'm like, I don't know if I want this private moment of her just captured in time forever on the internet. There's specifically this video where she's in the pool with my sister and my little brother, and she's squealing with excitement, and out of nowhere she just breaks out singing, and she's like, mama, baby, mama, and she's just trying to be so funny, and my sister's like, look at those pretty teeth, and then she's squealing, and I was like, Noli, say hi to mama, and she just turns to the camera, she's like, hi, and it can make your heart melt, and I wanted to share it, and I kept like not being able to post it, and I really felt like that was discernment, being like, this is so innocent to you, but the internet is not an innocent place. And then I was just like, okay, I'm not going to post it. So I'm not going to say I'm never going to post my kid, because I'd love to post like family pictures and things like that. Because in that aspect, I do feel like social media is great, but social media is also a deep, dark, dirty hole. And you can bring that to the bank. So anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this little like uplifting, don't be doom and gloom on yourself, beginning part of the podcast, and then a little recap of life at the end. And I will see you guys next time. Love you guys. Bye.